Hello, I'm King Link, and today we're going to be taking a last look and review of Dragon Quest XI, Echoes of an Elusive Age, which I'm just going to be calling Dragon Quest XI for the rest of the review for obvious reasons. This review is a long time coming. I put in 100 hours into this game, so I'm looking forward to discussing it. But of course, before we begin, a simple request. Please consider subscribing. I'm working my way up to 100 subscribers. It would be a big milestone for me, and I appreciate your help with it. I don't run ads, I don't monetize my videos, and all I ask is a simple subscription, a like, or a comment, whatever you can spare. Thank you for your time, and on with the review. Also, a spoiler warning. I have to spoil one major part of the game. I don't completely ruin the moment, but I need to talk about it because the fact is, this is at least a 60 to 80 hour game. It would be impossible for me to really spoil everything in it. However, there are pieces to the story that need to be discussed to understand my opinion and my final score for the game. As such, I have to talk about some of them. Those are just the facts. I'll try to keep it to a minimum. In addition, I have a rather long written review that dives far deeper into the game and everything about it. Feel free to check that out in the description. So to begin with, you can already see me playing the game. I'm only about an hour into this game at this point, and I have to be honest, the game looks great. It's the latest and greatest of the series, and it's also the first console release in 13 years, so of course it was going to look the best of the series, but it honestly looks even better than I would have imagined. I'm going to capture a little bit of the town life so you can see what walking around is like, and then some battles on the map. The fact is, both are great in this game. There's also cutscenes in the first look, and they look incredible too, though I'm avoiding them here for they tend to be a bit spoilerific. Really, the graphics in this game look excellent, and while I do have a small complaint that it looks a little too much like Dragon Ball, it's because it's the iconic style of Akira Toriyama. However, he's the guy who's made every Dragon Quest game look as good as it has, so I believe it is intentional. Honestly, the game looks great, and you can watch the video to see it, of course. At the same time, the story here, well, it's one of my big problems with Dragon Quest XI. It plays everything a bit too safe. Now, Dragon Quest XI has a silent protagonist, a casino, mini-medals, slimes, and everything else you'd expect from a Dragon Quest game. But it also has the same story. The hero of light with some unknown lineage comes to fight evil, gathering a band of characters and saving the day. That's the story from almost every Dragon Quest game at some point. Now, admittedly, it's not as simple as that. Here comes the spoiler. Jump ahead a minute or so, just if you don't want to hear this. About 40 to 50 hours in the game, there's a point where the game feels like it's winding down. You're about to get a major weapon in the war against evil, and it's going to make the rest of the game easy. However, you fail, and instead evil wins for the moment. They take control of the world, destroy a major MacGuffin, and turn the world to darkness. You can think of this like Final Fantasy VI or Final Fantasy III in America. This is the World of Ruin style. However, in that game, there's a lot more changes to the map. In this game, the map stays the same, but every location changes. You then have another 30 to 40 hours left in the game to keep playing, and you have to re-find all your party members. The thing is, this is the good twist in the game. There's a few more at this point, and I'll be honest, they're great moments. The problem is they occur after 40 very safe hours. Find a town, complete a quest, find another town. Those 40 hours bored me quite a bit. I shouldn't have to slug through 40 or 50 hours of a game to find the good moments. The good parts of the game shouldn't be hidden. If you wanted to play with Dragon Quest tropes, great. You could have done that with less than 10 hours of playtime. Instead, here you sit through a really long and weak beginning to find good moments. The sad part though is that the game doesn't stay interesting at that point. There's good parts and then it slips back into the iterative state of find a town, do something, and find a new town. Though in this case, you're actually revisiting a lot of locations. The thing though is, the story isn't good enough for me to be playing the game for 100 hours. I know people have beaten the game in 60 to 80 hours, but still that's an obscene amount of time for a story that doesn't really stand up. Much of the main story could have been interesting side quests. It's just a big missed opportunity for me, and I feel that it doesn't really live up to the promise of a great Dragon Quest game. Now, the gameplay itself is a bit of a mixed bag too. There's some huge improvements to the series. The mini-map is fantastic, there's a quest objective marker that works almost all the time, though I do have to admit it does fail a little bit in the open world segments of the game. I can appreciate that, but they could have made that a little bit better. The linear parts of the game, though, work amazingly, and that's what we needed for the series. There's actually the story so far that you see at the beginning of this video, and that's a nice improvement. Enemies appear on the screen as you walk around, so you can avoid them or attack them with a preemptive strike. You're even able to see what you're going to be fighting and have an idea of what you might attack, and even can mix and match monsters if you want, though the game doesn't give you a reason for it. It's a faster way to get through rooms. In fact, the preemptive strike itself is a good example of a weird thing that Dragon Quest XI seems to do. You can get a preemptive strike and cut some life off an enemy, however when you do this, the enemy can still get a surprise attack in you in the battle system. Why do they have a skill-based preemptive strike if you aren't going to use that to decide who gets the first attack in the battle itself? I don't know. And it does this thing where it keeps dividing like that. Some story element will be like, I'm going to attack the runt. And in the battle system, they don't attack the runt. Why? The battle system in the game, though, is what you would expect. You do get a three-dimensional environment, which is new for the series, and you can choose your attacks and spells at will, as well as defending abilities, everything that you would normally expect from a Dragon Quest game. But there's actually oddities there as well. You can move around the arena and walk around as you want, but this doesn't actually affect anything. It's not a tactical move, it's just an ability to walk around and see enemies from behind. You still get attacked the same no matter where you stand, so why can you move around? I honestly don't know, and I don't have an answer for that. In addition, the combat is, well, let's be honest, very easy. One thing that helps here is the party's AI is actually really good. I actually turned on the AI even for the player character about 10 hours in, expecting the game to eventually force me to turn it off so I could do something more strategic. Maybe a hard boss that comes up and the AI isn't doing it effectively. Instead, I actually never turned it off. I didn't need to. Most enemies are amazingly simplistic. Even major enemies, like the famous Green Dragon, took me 2 turns to kill with no chance of failure. That's one of the iconic characters of the series, and it's turned into fodder. But the fact is, everything is fodder here. The only time I've died was when I ran out of MP, and a quick trip back to town, there's a zoom spell, for instance, that comes early on, or a nearby statue fixes that quickly. Now, there are the draconic challenges, and you can see them in my first look, but most aren't going to make the game amazingly more difficult, though a few will make the game much harder. However, those challenges actually came out after launch in Japan, after it got the reputation of being too easy. And for me, I don't think those are intended to be how the game should have been played. So I didn't turn on any of them other than the restriction on fleeing, and the only reason I turned that one on is because that's how I normally play these games anyways. Never give up, never surrender. And in fact, that didn't affect the game that much. I think there was one scene where I could have fled, and in fact, I could have avoided that fight, which is what I did the second time through. Now, there's more minor changes here, but I'll leave those for the written review. Feel free to read that. It's in the description. Here's the thing. I'm a fan of Dragon Quest as a series, and I was excited to play this game. I even made it the first game I played at E3 this year. But ultimately, I felt like I was just sitting around hitting A lot. While you could make the combat less automated, you'd be less efficient to do this. But it wouldn't make the game feel that much better in my opinion. The fact is, the weak story really hurts this game in my opinion. It also feels like it plays it too safe. There's no doubt in my mind that this is a Dragon Quest game, but it's the same Dragon Quest I feel like I've played multiple times before. I didn't want this game to completely change the genre or be a battle royale or some other fad, but I did want to see something other than the game I played at least 5 times before. You know, a better story, a few more innovations, those would have been big. The combat system is the same classic system we've seen 9 times. We didn't receive 10 in America, and that's okay, but the enemies are also the same that we've always seen, and again, they're easier than normal. The graphics are good, and I feel like it's, at the end of the day, this is a coat of paint on the same game I've already played. So ultimately, I have a problem with recommending it. Now, if you've never played Dragon Quest and you want to try out the series, that's great. I'd recommend trying it out on your cell phone. The Dragon Quest 1 through 6, as well as Dragon Quest 8, is available on your cell phone. I believe it's on the Apple Store and the Android Store. and 8 even has PS2 level graphics, and it's worth checking out. If on the other hand you don't like JRPGs, honestly, this isn't going to change your mind. This is a classic JRPG, and that's okay. But what if you're a fan of Dragon Quest? Okay, you probably already own this game, and I understand that. Thanks for watching my review. And it's fine that you grab it. It's made for you. It has a lot of hours, I put in 100 hours by exploring a bit, and it's the safety blanket of this franchise. But it is a safety blanket. We should be demanding more. We should want more from our favorite franchises. Impress us, stun us, do something new. I know Dragon Quest has always been Dragon Quest, but I still wanted to try something new and different, instead of feeling like the same game I used to play on my NES. I played 90 hours in game, 100 hours according to Steam, and I only did that for this review, and I just wanted to see something that was worthy of that time. Ultimately, I have to give Dragon Quest XI, Echoes of an Elusive Age, a 2 out of 5. I wanted better, I wanted more. Dragon Quest XI didn't do it for me, and I know some fans will love it, some fans will like it for the reason that it hasn't evolved that much. That's okay, but I'm not reviewing this game only for the hardcore Dragon Quest fans. I'm a hardcore Zelda fan myself. My name is King Link. I don't need a review to tell me if I should buy the next Zelda game. I'm going to buy it. Same thing for Smash Bros. Of course I'm getting those games. But I still want to see reviews that properly grade games based on how good they are, and I can say that Dragon Quest XI is a game I really have trouble recommending. Feel free to leave me a comment if you disagree or want to share your own opinions on this game. I welcome them. That's Dragon Quest. Man, I spent a lot of time on this game, and I have to be honest, I'm glad I've talked about it and I can now move on. The good news is I have something new coming up, Time Spinner. As disclosure, I did back it on Kickstarter, but I'll be talking about it all the same. I feel like I was a different person 4 years ago, and we'll see if I still am interested in it. The question is it the Metroidvania we deserve? That's coming up next time. Until then, I'm King Link. Please consider subscribing. I appreciate your time, and thank you for watching.